There we go. Welcome, welcome. People starting to join. Hey, everyone. Welcome in. Amazing. If you can have your videos on, that would be amazing. It's lovely to be able to see you all as well. You don't have to have your video on. If you're eating lunch or dinner, that's totally fine as well. But would love to see you if possible. There's more people joining as we speak. So welcome, welcome if you're just joining us. As we gather, as we get underway with the summit, I want you to share a couple of things in the chat. So see if you can access the chat, and I want you to share where in the world you are and what you do creatively. All right, so where in the world you are and what you do creatively, just as we gather, and we've got a few more people joining us as well. Pop into the chat. Amazing. And if you've just joined us, video on if possible is amazing. It's great to be able to see you. I can engage with you as well. You will notice you're on mute, and you will be for the whole of the workshop, but it's great if the video's on. If you're eating lunch or dinner or something like that, you don't have to have it on. That's totally fine as well, but great to be able to see you. Amazing. So just popping into the chat where you are and what you do creatively, and everyone can start to see who is here as well. Now, I definitely recognize a few names here already, which is awesome. Hey, everyone. Amazing, fantastic. There's some past and current clients here. There's people we've worked with, there's people we've spoken to, which is very, very cool. There's names I recognize from Instagram as well, which is very, very cool. Awesome to see what people are starting to share in the chat just as we get underway. Amazing, Minnesota. I love it. Mural artist, fun. Amazing. Hey, Leila. Greece, graphic designer, illustrator. Joe, yep, Netherlands. Good to see you. Lovely to see you again. Nice. I love it. Lettering artist and designer, Seattle. Amazing, Melissa. Very cool. Illustration, graphic design. Yep, no worries if the camera's off there, Melissa. All good. Cleveland, Ohio. Very cool, Christine. Illustration, lettering, surface design. Those others that have just joined us, pop into the chat where you are in the world and what you do. Now, those of you that don't know me, you're probably already going, wait, where's that accent from? It is not from Australia. It is from New Zealand. Australia is just the guess that most people say because apparently they sound kind of similar. Not to me. New Zealanders and Australians do sound different, but honestly, not that different, to be honest. So it's an easy mistake to make. However, I am actually not in New Zealand right now. I'm in Argentina for a couple of months in a beautiful part of Argentina called Bariloche. It's in the Patagonia area. So based here for a couple of months. We're actually a US-based business. Most of our clients are actually in the US and Canada and a few elsewhere around the world as well. I don't spend that much time in New Zealand, surprisingly, but I get there occasionally. I was there for summer, New Zealand summer, which was actually in December and January. So there we go. Amazing, amazing. A few people just joining us in too. We're going to get underway very, very soon. Honestly, I'm just excited. I'm so excited to be running this. It is really great to be able to connect with everyone. So I think we should do it. I think we should get underway. So welcome to the Creative Business Summit. This is a 3-day workshop that we're running. Honestly, we've got some amazing things planned for the next 3 days. On the first day today, we're going to be focused on offerings, the types of things to focus on in your business, figuring out how to either start or expand your offerings, the types of things to focus on. Day 2, mindset. It's tomorrow. It's at the same time, same link, and we will be diving right into the key mindset things that you need to be aware of and the things you need to work on to really grow a long-term creative business. And then day 3, pricing. Everyone I know struggles with this that is in business. Pricing is a struggle that a lot of people have, trying to get the numbers right, how to increase prices without losing clients or increasing prices without people going, oh, is that what you charge? Actually, it's a really, really challenging thing. There's a lot of pricing psychology there that we're going to be really digging into. So that will be on day 3, which is on Thursday. So those are the plans. I want to hear in the chat, which day are you the most excited about? Is it day 1 today? Is it that's offerings? Is it day 2 mindset? Or is it day 3 pricing? Or is it all of the days? Can you just add into the chat what you are the most excited about? Which day you think you need the most? Or which day do you think you're going to learn the most? Just pop that into the chat. Which day is it? It could be all 3. I love that joke. Amazing, all 3. Yep, that's a good one. I love that. Often pricing, Joanna, nice. All 3. Yep. Maybe 2, mindset first, then offers. Absolutely. And one thing I will say, no matter which one is your favorite or the one that you want or need the most, I encourage you to come to all 3 days. Because sometimes what happens is the thing you don't think you need, you're actually avoiding, and you need a bit of extra support in that, right? Or you're like, I'm amazing at pricing, I'll just skip that 3rd day. It's like, well, if you're amazing at it, let's make you even more amazing. Let's turn it into an absolute superpower. So this is a really important thing, is that I would love you to try and come to all 3 days live. We do have people that will be watching the recording as well. We'll make sure we send the recording, but always great if you can come along live. Cool, awesome. I'm gonna give you a really brief background about myself. Quite a few people here know me, or maybe have stumbled across me on Instagram or our website and different things. My background is that I did have my own creative business for 11 years within the live event space in New Zealand. And in the early years of running that business, I went and got my entrepreneurship masters. I've always been really passionate about business and creativity and arts. So I've always really wanted to bridge the gap between the two. So I wanted to learn more about business, and then I had my own creative business. And then eventually what happened is I started getting into education. That looked like lots of teaching for universities, primarily in New Zealand, right up to master's level, everything from mentoring, coaching, teaching, lecturing, big crowds, small crowds on stage, in person, one-on-one, online, everything you can really think of. So lots of diverse things over many years there. And eventually I decided to start running my own programs, because lots of awesome creative people kept on coming to me saying, I don't need to go to university, or I don't want to do this public program. Actually, I would love to get that support. I really struggle with the business side of creative business. So that's where I started developing my own programs. And then eventually went into that full time. So these days, under the brand name Flammable Entrepreneur, we help visual creatives to grow their businesses. Our clients are at different stages. So stage 1, group 1 are like, hey, I'm early stage, I'm getting going. They might have a day job. They might really want to just get things moving finally, right? So that's group 1. Group 2 are like, well, I've been doing this for a bit longer, maybe a year, maybe a couple of years. I'm mostly full-time on the business, and yet I need to get it really working. I want to increase the revenue. I want to do more of the creative work that I love. I really want to make sure this works long-term in a sustainable way. And then group 3 are like, hey, I've been doing this for like 10 or 20 years, but I want to diversify what I'm doing. I want to maybe pivot what I'm doing. And also there's usually things like I want to be able to also earn a little bit more and probably work a little bit less. So they're also people that we work with too, and everyone in the visual creative space. So that mostly looks like designers, illustrators, graphic designers, muralists. They're kind of the core areas. And then sometimes we work with people outside of those core areas as well. And then, as I mentioned, most of our clients are US based, some in Canada as well. We also have some clients in Europe, and then sometimes dotted around other places as well. Okay, so today, one of the really cool things we're going to be doing is that we are going to be giving away some free clarity calls with Paul, who is the creative specialist, business specialist on my team. He's on the Flammable team, so do stick around for that, because we're going to do that at the end. Is basically giving away those calls and clarity calls to really help you a bit more to really think about what you've learned here, and some implementation too. So do stick around for that. Today's going to be about action, right? So one of my biggest passions is getting beyond the theory of like, okay, ideas are great and brainstorming's great, but actually, if we can actually go into what can we do, what are the actions we can take, what are the steps that can move forward, you're just going to make progress. And we talk to people all the time who are like, oh, I've been to every single webinar or training or workshop, every single thing, and they've read every book and they've learned all this stuff, but they've never got beyond the theory. Right, so today we're going to be getting into some of the action. So please make sure you have a notepad ready or a document on your computer. This is not the sort of workshop to come along, just kind of hang out in the corner and listen, lie on the couch listening. It's fine if you do, no stress, but actually would love you to be really engaged. We're going to be using chat, and also there are going to be activities that I'm going to get you physically working through while on this call. So that is a really, really important part of it. Action's important. This is a big part of our coaching programs as well, and it's going to be an important part of the summit workshops as well. All right, so if you're excited, I want you to grow into the chat, right? If you want to grow your business today, if you really want to move your business forward this year, I want you to type grow into the chat. Just get a bit of excitement going there. Yeah, a little bit of the Logan cheesiness there, but yeah, please pop that in the chat. Grow, grow, grow. There we go. I love it. Amazing. Love the emojis as well. Very, very cool. Okay, let's dig into that. So this workshop here is actually for people that could be at different stages. some of you might be like, I'm kind of that early stage. I'm trying to figure out what to offer. What are my products and services? What could I be offering with my creative skills? Great, we're going to dig into that. Some other people might be like, oh, I just want to expand or grow my business. Maybe I want to diversify what my offerings are in the business. There might even be some people here that are like, well, whatever I currently offer, I'm kind of over it. I want to transition the things that I offer into something else. The pretty typical story we see there is graphic designers who are like, I want to get more into more creative work, illustration type work. Or sometimes we see people who are like, I have an Etsy store, a print on demand store, and I want larger and more sustainable income. So I want to be able to pivot maybe into another area. And that could look like getting into other offerings. So the first thing I'm going to dive into is the difference between a hobby and a business. The difference between a hobby and a business. Don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with having a hobby. There is nothing wrong with having a creative hobby, something that you're passionate about, something that you're putting time and energy into. That's an amazing and beautiful thing. If you want to turn your creative abilities into something more than a hobby, something that you earn revenue from, then actually some other things start to come into play. And a big part of that is that you have to create value for other people, right? You have to create value that other people care about and are willing to pay you for, right? So that's one of the big differences. It's like, hey, if you just want to create for fun, as a hobby, for wellness, for mindset, for an outlet, amazing, that's beautiful. If you want to create for something more, you want to actually create a business and bring revenue, it does change the dynamic, and you need to start thinking about what other people need and want and what they're willing to pay for. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the first activity, and I'm going to get you to think about your passion, your purpose, which is basically like why you want to create art, right? So what are the things that you're passionate about is where we're going to start with this activity. So what I want you to do, we're going to give you not long, just over a minute. I want you to actually write down what are some things that you're passionate about. And it doesn't need to be linked to your business or what you want to do in your business. I want you to just write down everything. All right, so take a notepad or a document on your computer, and I'm going to give you a minute or two, and I want you to just start writing down everything you can think of that you are excited about or passionate about in life. Right, so I'm going to keep talking, but I want you to start writing things down. What we see is that passions lead to the things that you can offer that are valuable. Not always, but this activity can just start getting you to think about that. So I'm just going to give everyone about another 40 seconds to write down some more. This is the sort of activity you'll probably have to do more later, but see if you can get some things down. Cool. What are you passionate about? And try and think beyond your business or beyond what you want to do. Just things. If you're like, I love walking dogs, put it down. I love hiking in the wilderness, put it down. I love traveling, sailing. I'm passionate about community. Are you passionate about gardening or festivals? Whatever it is, just write down as many things as you can. There's no right or wrong answers. When you're like, oh, I'm not sure about that, just write it down. I'm not sure if that's a passion or not, just write it down. Amazing. I'll just give everyone a little bit more time there on this first activity. Okay, this is an activity you can do more on later. What I want you to do for the second activity is I want you to brainstorm what you could do that people would value or might value. What are the things that you can do that other people might value? Don't get too stuck into it. Don't worry about whether it's connected to your passions. You may not be excited about some of these things, but that may lead to other ideas. So what are the things that you can do that can create value? What are things that you can do that other people need? Let's give you some time on this one here. You could be excited about it. You could be like, oh, wow, I actually would love to be able to garden for other people. Or it might be, I actually love to create art and I see that people value my artwork. Try and get really specific if you can, but what are the things that you could potentially do that people would value? There's no right or wrong answers. We're not looking for solutions. We're just looking for ideas. So just popping them down on your notepad as well. I'll give you another 30 seconds on that one. Remember, there's no right or wrong answers, and we're just doing a quick version of this activity. Yeah, Sarah, great comment there. I just saw in the comment around, I lose track of time when I'm painting. And this is related to the passion stuff there. Is like, yeah, things that get you into a flow state where you just lose time. Right? That often happens with things that you're passionate about. See if you can get a few more things down on either of these lists, more things that you're passionate about, more things that you could do that people might value. Might be related to your skills or things that you're trained in or things that you actually have a lot of experience in. So see if you can just get a few more things down on each of those lists. No right or wrong answers. All right, so one of the things around this activity is we can actually start to see where that crossover can be. Now, it's not always immediately obvious, but what we're really looking for is where is the crossover of things that you're excited about and passionate about and things that you can do? Like, what are the things that you're like, amazing, I'm excited about this thing, I'm passionate about this, and I can do it. And there's value. People actually appreciate it. People have value in that. So this is an activity that can just start to pull out some of these different ideas. And sometimes you can look for patterns and ideas. And maybe the thing that you're doing is not what the thing is that you're passionate about, it's the people that you would be helping. Or you might be like, well, it's I actually love designing, but then you look over at your passions and you're like, well, the passion is I love the outdoors. So maybe I could be doing design work for outdoors companies, outdoor brands. That's something that I would find really interesting. So you can kind of just start to give some clues around what you can do and also for whom. Is it the final answer? No. But we're going to dig into some of these things further and start to get you some ideas. So the next thing I want to really dig into is something that I call the valuable offer or the valuable offerings. So one of the really beautiful things I get to see from working with so many people and talking to so many more is that I get to see what works and what doesn't work in people's creative businesses. Right? The things that actually are working for them, the things that help them grow, and the things that get in their way, the things that don't work. I get to see these things in action, and I've been doing it for a very long time. So I actually get to see these in action. And one of the really interesting things that we've noticed is that to build a long-term sustainable business, reaching the sort of goals that most people have, most people really need to have what's called a valuable offering. Right? A valuable offering. Now, how do I define a valuable offering? From what we've seen, a valuable offering is something that is $300 plus. Right? Something you sell for $300 plus. Now, some people here are in different places, right? So that could be 300 euros, that's fine. It could be 300 Canadian dollars, US dollars. We could even be referencing New Zealand, Australian dollars, or other places we could be converting towards some of these types of numbers. But this is something that we've really seen is that to get to the goals, you really need to have a core focus on these $300 plus offerings. And I'm going to dig a lot more into this. This is actually a big part of this workshop because it's something that I see again and again and again, people getting wrong. So the first thing is why? Like, why do I think this is a big factor? Like, why is it that there's this $300 plus? I think one of the big factors is that it is what we call a numbers game, right? Building a business is a bit of a numbers game sometimes. If you want to be earning $5,000 or $10,000 per month, well, if you're selling things that are low ticket or low price, you're going to have to sell a lot. So if you think about it, we can give some examples where if you want to earn $5,000 in a month, that means if you're selling something for $10, then you need to sell 500 of them every single month. And the next month again, and the next month again, and the next month again. 500, that's probably 500 individual people you need to sell to. Huge volume. Now, even if we had things that we're selling for $100, you still need to sell to 50 people every single month. And again, and again, and again. Right, so it becomes this numbers game where if you're selling things that are those lower price points, it's all about volume. It's all about selling a lot of them. And for most people, you don't necessarily have like a huge following online. You don't start off with like a huge newsletter or a big Instagram following. So therefore, it can be pretty hard to reach those numbers that you're looking for. Is it impossible? No, right? Of course not. And I'm going to dig into some of that as well. What's also really interesting about this is that even our clients that have larger followings, they often struggle with things that are volume-based as well. Now, a small number of people, about 10% of people we work with, have over 10,000 followers on Instagram. We've got clients who even have 100,000 followers. They even struggle with selling some of those lower priced items as well. And you would think, hey, like if I have 100,000 followers, it'd probably solve all the issues. And like I could sell $10 and $100 products or services all day long and make tons and tons of money. $10,000, $20,000 per month, easy. I can see it. They even struggle with it. So there are some other factors in play that I'll dig into more, but the numbers game is a big one. Now, let's say instead for the $5,000, you start selling things that are $500. You need to sell 10 of them per month, okay? You can start to imagine working with 10 people or selling to 10 individuals per month. Or if you're selling something for $2,500, you sell 2 of them per month, product or service. Or the math says, hey, you could do one $5,000 thing per month and you get $5,000 per month. And you work with one person, one client. So we can start to see these number things in action. And I think that is a big factor around why this $300 plus stuff should be a big focus. And you see, I'm saying they're $300 plus. I'm basically saying minimum. Right, so we have clients that, yes, they have offerings and things they focus on that are $500, $1,000, $2,000, sometimes even thousands of dollars. Right, and they're the sorts of things that are getting them to those goals quicker. So what we are going to do is I'm going to get you to do a brainstorm. With your current skills and abilities, what could you sell that is $300 plus? Some of you will have easy answers. Some of you already be doing this. Amazing, great. Write it all down. And then see if you can think about some other ideas. Notice what I said there around your current creative skills and abilities. It shouldn't really require too much extra upskilling. Or it could be something that you could spend a month or two upskilling in to get a bit better at, maybe. But I'm not talking about something that you now need to go and spend 6 months or a year doing some program, some course, some degree. No, I'm really saying based off your current creative abilities, what's something that you could sell that's $300 plus? Those of you in other currencies, use approximately the same. If you want to convert it to USD, your currency, that's fine as well. Some of you might be really struggling with this activity. Some of you might be like, oh, easy. And that's kind of what we see. Some people find it easy. Some people find it really hard. So just write down everything you think you can do. There might be some things you're like, I'm not sure if I can quite do that. I'm not sure if my skills are up to speed. Write it down anyway. Yeah, some people are just like, I have lists of stuff that I can do. Amazing. And that starts to say, might not be the challenge, might not be coming up with the ideas, might be execution side, which we'll talk more about as well. I'll just give everyone 30 more seconds on this activity. See if you can get some things down. There might be some people here that are like, oh, no, I can't think of one single thing. That's okay. You now have the question. The question is, what can I do that's $300 plus? Amazing. And you can, if you want to pop something in the chat, you definitely can. Definitely make sure you've got things down in your notepad. Okay, we're going to keep moving on. One thing I would quickly love to do I would love to get everyone dropping their Instagram here. Just make sure we're getting everyone connected with each other. I'm going to drop mine in. Please drop your URL if you can, not just your @ tag. So then it's like clickable for everyone to see. I've just added into the chat. If you can go to your an actual website page and like get the Instagram link and drop it in here, drop the URL, that'd be great. And then go through and follow other people here. We love having people connected because it's awesome. Community is such an important part of growing a business as well. Supporting each other. So see if you can just drop that link in. We'll make sure that we're following you as well. Awesome. I can see people are starting to add in their Instagram links. So pop them in the chat, go grab them, click through other people's as well, get following, get connected with everyone. Make sure you're following the Flambo Entrepreneur one as well. We'd love to connect with you too if you're not already. Amazing. Okay. So next thing we're going to talk about is this idea of focus versus diversification. Now, we work with creatives, right? So creatives have lots of ideas and often they have many things they want to do and can do, which is a beautiful thing. It can also be a hindrance. And we hear from the internet all the time that you have to diversify, right? In business, you have to diversify. You have to reduce your risk. You have to do lots of different things. You have to diversify. That's kind of what we hear. And it kind of sounds like a smart and compelling idea. It's like, yeah, it makes sense. You don't want to, do one thing and then if that doesn't work out, it's really risky. What we tend to see is that means that most people try and do too much. As in they are like, there's all these things I want to do and can do, and I'm trying to pursue all of them. Right? So sometimes it's like, I do this and this and this and this, and I want to do that and that and that and all these things. And they feel completely overwhelmed by it. So it's to acknowledge that, yes, being a creative, lots of creativity and lots of ideas is a beautiful superpower, but it also can be a challenge as well. One of the things that we recommend is that you just focus on 3 to 5 things at a time. Right, 3 to 5 offerings. And there's lots of ways to define this. I totally understand that. But we really see that focusing on 3 types of offerings at a time is a good number, sometimes up to 5. Most people, they try and do too much. Sometimes people try and do one thing. And the thing we notice is they try and focus on one thing, they get bored. So that's why actually having 3 to 5 things. And this is something that can be a bit of a struggle. And I want you to think about it as 3 to 5 things now. You can do more stuff later. You can do everything. You just can't do everything right now. So this is a very, very interesting thing. And a lot of people get stuck on this. Now, there's lots of dependent factors here. If you have a day job, if you are at a place where, in your life where you have family commitments, if you have some health stuff going on, if you have other people you're supporting, then it might not be that you can focus on 5. It might be more like 3. Some cases it's even 2. Life will change. There'll be times where you can do more and you can focus on more things. But a lot of people have other projects in their life as well, and other commitments and distractions, right? So that's a general rule that we really see. Now, the thing I'm going to do next, because I know this is something that a lot of people struggle with, is really understanding, what could these $300 things be? And I'm actually going to start on the opposite side. I'm going to actually start talking about the things that are generally under $300. Because what I'm saying is that you can do these things as well. I'm not saying you can only do things that are $300 plus. What I'm saying is that we've seen that it's good to have a core focus on those sorts of things. A core focus means you can focus on other things, but the core thing would be something that's $300 plus. Okay, so if you want some numbers for this, you could say, well, I'm saying focus 60% of your energy or more, 60+% of your energy on something that is $300 plus, based on what we've seen. Now, you might have some energy on other things, and that's okay. And I'm going to go through some of those types of things. We've lots of clients that do all sorts of different things, everything you can imagine, including stuff that I'm going to be listing out soon. But most of these things are not the core focus, and most of these things are not enough to get people to their goals. So, number one, print on demand. Print on demand. So, what are Logan's views on print on demand? Well, first of all, this is definitely something that is not in the $300 plus. It's something that I don't think is working very well anymore. It used to work better as a business thing you could focus your time and energy on. It is a numbers game because you need to sell so much, right? You're often only making a few dollars per item. On Redbubble, SocietyStix, they're pretty common places. It is also extremely, very, very, very competitive. And every day it gets more competitive because it's a pretty low barrier to entry. And as some of you would have seen, things change on the platforms as well. Sometimes you actually need to pay to be on these platforms now. Or the margins that you lose are quite high and you're only making a few dollars. The dream is there, right? The passive income dream is certainly there. Hey, if I could make thousands of dollars this way. We get to talk to a lot of people and we work with a lot of people, and it's just not the reality that we're seeing anymore. If you are going to focus on print on demand, my recommendation is maximum 10% of your focus and energy. Maximum 10%, not 80, not even 30, 10% of your energy. I know my accent sometimes catches me up, but 10%, this much. Pretty low amount, right? And actually, sometimes people say, do you think it's worth me spending any energy on it? And sometimes I say, no. Or I say, well, if you really feel passionate about it and you're already there and you've already got stuff online, sure, you could put it there. Sometimes people do see some marketing value, right? So having themselves on some of these platforms can help them maybe find other opportunities. Personally, I think there's other better ways to market. But, I do get that approach, and I think, there is potentially some merit in it. Right? So it's number one I'm talking about. Number two is licensing. Now, licensing is something that I feel quite differently about compared to print on demand. It's something that still works. There's opportunities. The thing we need to be mindful of with licensing is it takes a significant amount of time. And from what we've seen, it's not generally the thing that has a massive impact on people's revenue. It's not generally the thing that's getting people to their dreams, leaving the day jobs, earning more revenue, earning 5 to 10K per month. It's not the core focus thing. We've certainly got plenty of clients that do it, and it's part of the focus, but you could think of it as something that you could spend 30% of your energy on if you want to, right? 20 or 30% of your energy if you're excited about it. We've also seen that the larger your audience is, the easier it will be. Now, of course, anyone can do it, right? Even people with tiny audiences online can do it. But we do tend to see it just gets easier as you grow a bigger following as well. So this is something that licensing is kind of a funny one because it technically could be $300 plus payouts, but it still does rely on the partner, the licensing partner, selling in a big volume, right? So effectively, it still in the end is the low ticket, lots of sales per item. But yes, you could get reasonable payouts. And we've had plenty of clients that have had, really good payouts. We've talked to plenty of people that find, yes, it can be a really good thing to do, but it does take significant amounts of time. Occasionally, we do see that some licensing agreements, partnerships, sometimes you could do a full buyout that could be over $300. You need to be a bit careful about that because you're giving away effectively your designs. Or you might have design fees that are part of the agreement. So that's something that we do see sometimes too, where design fees, you're designing something, you're charging $500, $1,000 to design it, and then there's effectively some sort of royalty attached to that as well. So technically that is $300 plus. Right, so that's a little exception there. Another thing that we see people doing, art prints. Art prints is another one that is lower ticket, lower pricing, often $30 to $50, sometimes more, sometimes up towards $100. It's becoming more and more competitive to sell art prints. It's harder if you have a smaller following. Even with the bigger following, it still becomes that numbers game. If you're physically involved in any of the printing, it can be cost to print, logistics to send. Also, you usually need to sell it somewhere. That could be Etsy, or it could be your own web shop. Sometimes people do stores or in-person fairs. basically what we end up seeing is that this thing here, even if you are not printing it, it feels like passive income. Yeah, I make good money each time. Well, it takes a lot of work. That's what we tend to see. Once again, if you really want to focus on it, you could spend a small amount of your energy focused on it. But it's not one of those things that we see as the 60% plus focus that is getting people to their dream. We have plenty of clients that do this stuff, but it's not the core thing that they are focusing on. Beyond this, we then get into products. So both physical and digital, I'm going to kind of lump them all together, even though they're very different. But it's really about having, lower ticket things, lower items that you're selling. So stickers, stick-on tattoos, sometimes digital fonts. Sometimes people have things on places like the creative markets. Now, or on Etsy as well. Generally, these are lower ticket. Generally, they're well below $300. If they're physical products, they have costs and logistics to worry about as well. Those costs can get quite high and they sometimes are not very profitable. You're also very, very dependent on platforms like Etsy, and they have those algorithms, just like Instagram has algorithms, so does Etsy, and you don't really have a lot of control over that. So we've literally seen people who have been like, I'm doing so well on Etsy selling these lower ticket items, overnight see that their revenue can drop significantly because something changes. And that there is scary. It's terrifying. And I also don't think that's necessarily a sustainable way to run a business, is to rely on someone else or a platform like Etsy. It's actually quite dangerous. So once again, this is not something that we see as the core thing that people are focusing on. We've seen exceptions. And I will say this, is that what I'm sharing here, we occasionally do see exceptions to these rules, the $300 plus rule. Most of the time when I've come across an exception, I'm like, wow, here's an exception. When I dig into it more, I go, yeah, but it's not sustainable. There's big costs involved. This person is completely overwhelmed and they work 80 hours a week to make this happen. This passive income business. Or there's a lot of risk associated with it, right? Look, occasionally, as I said, occasionally there are people that have made this work. Often they've been doing it for longer as well. So some of these things I'm sharing have worked better in the past. So I'm really looking at what's working today because that's what matters. What is going to work from here? So sustainability is an important part of this. It's like what's going to build a long-term sustainable business, not like what's going to make a quick buck today. I will briefly mention a couple of other things that we do tend to see that tend to be the lower price points, but can be part of the equation. So sometimes we see things like private commissions, kind of more like pet portraits or drawing houses, or sometimes even drawing people's portraits. They are generally harder to get above $300. They can be pretty time consuming as well. And if you're working with private individuals, you can end up with quite key clients that involve a lot of back and forth for your $300 or your $400. But yes, we can see that they sometimes work as part of what you can do. Once again, you could think about a similar way to licensing. It could be 20 or 30% of your energy could be on this. Education is another one. Right, so having your own skill shares or some sort of mentoring, in-person workshops. Once again, this can be a really good thing to do, but it's usually only something we recommend is like 30% of your energy, 30% of your revenue. It takes time to build an audience. Easier if you've got a larger following, sure. It's also getting more and more competitive, and I'm sure you're all seeing this. You have to have need a really, really specific niche. And once again, often it's harder to get the pricing of these sorts of things above $300. So that's something to be mindful of as well. But once again, we have plenty of clients that have some portion of their business which is education related. Other things that pop up, wholesale. Might be a couple of people here that do some wholesale. Orders can be over $300, but generally it's still low margin per item sold. So it could be part of what you offer, once again, but doesn't tend to be the core focus. There's also sometimes inventory issues. Sometimes you have to spend a lot of money having inventory. Sometimes you have to order in bulk. You're quite reliant on the partners selling. And often, once again, it's those very low price points. So there's other things as well. These are the core things that we see that tend to sit under that, but tend to be things that people might still do and might focus their energy on. Basically, a few of the things I'll just point out here is that what we've really seen is that those things that are under $300 are often really, really competitive. because it's low barrier to entry, right? It's quite easy to start selling and doing this and getting online. And so that's kind of a big piece of it. Is like they're very competitive, and some of these areas are just getting more competitive every single week. The second thing is that numbers game, right? It's kind of hard to make them work. You have to just sell so many units every single month, and again and again, and next year as well. And then number three is often a lot of these things are actually pretty time consuming when it comes to it. Right? There's this passive income dream, but sometimes in reality that can look quite different. Because actually, let's say you are doing all the prints and you're like, great, I make $25 off each print. Well, if you're doing it yourself, you're the one who's also getting them in the envelope, sending them, going to the post office, doing all that. Or if you get someone else to do it, you get a lower margin. So often these things can be pretty complex and time consuming. I'm sure all of you here are going, oh, okay, this is interesting, but what should I do? You've just destroyed everything that I'm doing or want to do, right? We can see someone sharing in the chat there, right? Me sharing, last year I spent 70% of my time and energy on print on demand. It was a waste of time, right? This is the sort of story that we're seeing again. I actually closed my shop for physical products last year, right? We're going to get into the more positive stuff next. What we go then is, what are the things that are working, Logan? Okay, what are the options? What are the options? Where we recommend people spend the majority of the energy, right? So I'm saying 60% plus of the energy is on things that they can charge $300 plus for. Now, it's not always, but it tends to be client work. It tends to be services. That's what it tends to be in this space here. And I'm going to be giving a bunch of examples of people, from people that we work with, the types of things we tend to see. And I want you to have a really open mind. Those of you that are like having a bit of a freak out right now because of what Logan said, have an open mind for this next part. Because you might be like, no, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do that. And I'm like, well, maybe you can. Maybe there are some opportunities here, but there's some resistance that needs to be worked through, or some challenges. You probably can do more than you realize. You probably are good enough to do more than you realize. So the thing about things that are more client-based, they tend to be more personalized, more customized. They tend to involve a direct relationship with a person, with a client, rather than just like a click and buy online, usually emailing with this person or talking to this person. They are usually $300 plus, right? That's kind of the things that we see. So, they're often for businesses or sometimes private clients. So I'm going to go through the types of trends and things that we see. Number one, we see a lot of growing opportunities, murals. I think murals is a really amazing way to actually turn your creative work into something really, really valuable. There's also lots of different types of murals, from like sign writing to designs of windows, full murals inside and outside. Some people even just do the digital parts of murals, right? So they're designing and things get printed on canvas, or they pay someone else to print, to paint, or the client pays someone else to do the painting part. So this is something where it is a growing industry, and you can literally charge thousands of dollars for it. We've literally had clients who charged $10, $20, $25,000 for mural projects. There's a lot of opportunities that are a lot more than $300 plus. So that is an area that is definitely worth consideration. Another pretty common area, branding. I'm sure there's some graphic designers here, people with graphic design background. We kind of see that there's people that are passionate about it, and sometimes we see these people that are like, oh, I'm really not passionate about it. That's fine as well, but it's understanding this is an area. So branding, huge area of what that could look like. You can also get into what we call more of, I call it illustrative branding. So it's not like you have to be like a graphic designer trained as a graphic designer professionally to get into branding. Some people actually are able to use their illustrative type approach, and they can do more illustrative approaches to logos. So there's lots of different opportunities in this, and generally you can charge quite a lot for branding work. We see quite often people are undercharging a huge amount for branding work, and sometimes we've got to really help them to increase the value of what they're doing, perception, find the right types of clients. Sometimes people are like, what? How would I ever charge over $300 for a logo? And I'm like, you're charging over $300 for a logo? Okay, it's worth a lot more than that. And they're like, yeah, but everybody says that's still expensive. Okay, we need to think about who the everybody is. Other areas I'll briefly mention: editorial, magazine illustrations, book illustrations, book covers. There's tons of different stuff at editorial. It's a whole realm. Packaging design, right? So designing for brands, products, could be cosmetics, could be food industry, could be coffee brands, could be beer brands, it could be labels, right? Think about like labels for a kombucha brand, right? There is a whole area of opportunity in packaging design. And once again, you could come from more of a graphic design background or more of a illustration background. Then we could talk about spot illustrations. This is kind of a big wide area again. You could be doing illustrations for social media. You could be doing it for websites. You could be doing it for other areas of advertising materials. You could get into event illustration, things like weddings. Weddings is a whole industry. Weddings is a whole big, huge industry. And I'm engaged at the moment, and I know it's a big industry. It's a lot to think about, right? It's a lot to think about. And part of it is spending money on things like designs and labels and invitations. Thank you. So that's more of your event illustration. So sometimes it's even things like corporate events or parties as well. And then, of course, graphic design itself. There's so many different areas of what that looks like and what that involves. And we work with a lot of people who are graphic designers as well. So more of a traditional graphic design approach. So I've run you through a ton of information here. These are a bunch of the things we tend to see. And I want you to think about whether there is something there that kind of caught your notice, or there might be, I'm sure there's people here, they're like, oh yeah, I'm already doing a bunch of those things. Great. What I'm really saying is that of your 3 to 5 offerings, at least one of them should be something that's $300 plus. And you should be spending over 60% of your energy on that. Occasionally we get people who are like, oh, okay, so I'm going to do education 30%, I'm going to do licensing 30%, I'm going to do print on demand 10%, and then I'm going to spend 20% of my energy on wholesaling. I'm like, yeah, you found 100%, and my maths is way off, I think, but you found your 100%, but you don't have anything that's $300 plus. And from what we've seen, this approach is not going to work. And I would never coach or teach something to people that is not going to work, because I think that's just crazy. Right? This is based on what we see. Sometimes this is not exciting to hear, right? We have clients all the time that we have to really work with to help them figure this stuff out. Because it's hard. It's sometimes hard to figure this stuff out. We part from what we do, where we help people figure it out. We don't just expect them to have this all figured out. Some people do. Okay, so we've dug into a lot of stuff. Now, everyone have a quick look at the time. The time has flown. Look at that. Where does the time go? We've literally got like 10 minutes left. Okay, and we've got a few more things to do. What I want to do is I want to talk about what you can use with the information you've learned today. There is only going to be one way to figure out whether these things you're learning, these different ideas you've got, are going to work, and that is to try them, to test them out, to take action. The only way you'll see if this idea of, oh, maybe I could do murals. Well, okay, first thing is do a mural. Seems crazy. Can you do a mural? Can you get a big, huge piece of card paper? Can you find a wall, a friend's house, your house? And can you make a mural? Can you do it? Can you have a go? So the only way you're ever going to move these ideas forward is by trying them out. The only way you're really going to learn if these things are going to work is by testing them. We can brainstorm lists and do what we've done all day. I could do this, I could do that, and then wait till it's like perfect and correct, and that is the answer before you do it. The only way you'll really know is to test things out. So that's where I really want you to think about, what could you do? So those of you that are like, I'm already in business, I'm going to be doing the phrases, I'm doing some of the things. Okay, well, if you're wanting to expand what you're doing, which one could you expand into, and what could you start doing to test that out? What we often see is that people have a resistance around the thing. They're like, oh, I could never do that. Right? We use murals as an example. I could never do murals. I don't know. That's like a whole industry I have nothing, I don't know much about. Often it's quite surprising. People are often not that far off being able to execute on something like murals based on their current skills. Yeah, there might be a bit of stuff to figure out and learn, but you will learn very quickly on the go as well. So I just want you to notice whenever there's a resistance of like, I can't do that thing there. I'm not good enough. What I see from the work that we do is that a lot of people out there are very good at what they do creatively. The real struggle comes down to the business stuff, the marketing, getting themselves out there. That's because that's the reason, literally, why my company, that's why the work I do, is that people are really amazing at the creative side. They're not very good at the business stuff. That's the thing that is getting in their way. And often there is something there going, maybe I'm not that good at the creative stuff, because it's not really working. And then I look at their amazing work and I'm like, you're kidding me? That's not the figured your way. Yeah, exactly. There we go. Bang on, right? So as you've said there, doubting the creative side as well. And Catherine, only so many hours in the day. You've got to do the business stuff as well as the creative stuff. That's a challenge that a lot of people struggle with as well. So just really wanted to remind everyone here, great to come up with these lists. There's probably been some aha moments for some of you. There's probably been some frustrations for some others. There's some of you that are probably like, he's lying, he's wrong, I'm going to prove him wrong. Please do if you want to try to prove me wrong. This is just based on what we've seen, talking and working with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. This is the stuff that we see. That's what I'm really sharing here today. What we are going to do next is that I am going to be doing, I'm going to be popping the link in the chat very, very soon for Paul to get you on a free clarity call with Paul from my team. He's the creative business specialist on the team. He'll help you process some of what you've learned today, where you're at, and he'll share some ideas as well. Now, before I do drop that link in, it's literally for anyone here. Would love you to get on that call, but we do have limited spots, and I am going to share some caveats so that we can keep everything fair. Right, so Paul is very busy. He's incredible. He's an amazing person. I think there's a few people that have already maybe spoken to Paul here as well, which is fantastic in the past. But he's also a busy man. And if we're going to get you on a call this week, next week, or the week after, there's 3 caveats. Number 1 is that you need to be ready to take action now. You need to be ready to leave your day job, ready to grow your business, or if you've already done that, ready to take your business to the next level. If you're just like gathering information and ideas and you're not ready to implement, you're just like, oh, well, one day I'm just kind of learning a few things, gathering information. Please do not book this call because we don't have that many spots. Second caveat, I want you to be really open to sharing with Paul ideas and being vulnerable. He's amazing. He's super kind. He's a lovely guy. I want you to be able to get vulnerable and be open about where you're at with your ideas and your creative business or not business yet. I want you to be willing to share what's your dream, what's getting in your way. Paul may say some stuff that you don't want to hear. I want you to be open to hearing it. Basically, what I'm saying is you need to be coachable on that call. A growth mindset's important. So that's really, really important. Number 2, open to share, open to be vulnerable. Don't worry, he won't make you cry on the call. That generally is not where we're going. Number 3 is that if you book this call in, I want you to 100% commit to it. I want you to turn up ready and on time. I don't want you to muck Paul around. Don't cancel him last minute. Your video must be on. You have to be at a table. I don't want you to be like sitting in a car with your phone like this and Paul's going to get motion sickness with you moving around. Right? Paul's time is really valuable and we've only got limited spots. So we definitely don't want to muck him around. So the one thing I will do, if you are happy with that plan, please type in the chat, yes, sounds good, or I agree, that's fair, reasonable, yep, understand, totally all good. If you ring and just type in the chat before I drop Paul's link, just to keep things nice and fair for that. Yes, good, happy, fair, sounds good, understandable, yep, all good. Amazing, thank you, I totally appreciate that, everyone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that in the chat. As I said, it's a completely free call. Pop that link open now and just get it booked in now. Find a time. You could find a time in the next few days. I recommend you do it as soon as possible rather than like leaving it for 3 weeks. Do it as soon as possible so that he can help process some of the stuff that you're learning or have learned during these workshops. There might even be some time tomorrow or the next day as well. Make sure you do that. So pop that open, click that link now. Even if you don't have a moment right now, click that link so you've got it ready. I'd love you to just go in, enter your email. It's pretty straightforward. Now, if there is anyone that is interested in how myself and the team could potentially help coaching with you, Paul can also discuss that with you as well. Right. So if there's anyone here that's like, oh, I want to find out more about what I could support, I could get, book that call as well, and he'll be able to take you through that too. Paul's lovely, by the way. He's from Maine. Those of you in the US, he's based up in Maine. I do recommend doing it as soon as possible. There might be some people here that are like, oh, I'll think about it. I'll consider, maybe I'll do that in the future. I'm like, we don't very often do what we're doing right now and just post it in the chat like this. So pop it in, even if you're like, I don't know if I'm ready or I'm scared, like as long as you're in a place where you're like, I want to get on this call. It sounds interesting. I'm open to sharing ideas. I think I want to be able to move my life forward, move my business forward. Great, book that call in. Amazing. I can already see some people are booking them in, which is fantastic. Okay, cool. We have a few minutes left. So I'm just going to talk about plans for tomorrow and then we're going to do wrap up. Plan for tomorrow. So tomorrow is the mindset day. Same time, same link. Would love to see everyone come along, even if you're like, mindset, well, I don't need that. Mindset everyone needs. It's an ongoing thing. We're going to be talking about lots of great stuff, and we're going to be helping you to think about these ideas we're sharing, plus implement some of these things as well. Day 3 on Thursday, all about pricing. Everyone needs this. Even our clients who are very, very advanced, who we occasionally work with, who are like, oh, I think I'm good at that stuff. I'm like, well, let's dig into it anyway. And then it turns out, yeah, they needed more help, right? So everyone should be there for that one as well. If you have any friends that you want to invite, the link that you're signed up with, you can forward that on to them as well. If people sign up late, they can still come to day 2 or day 3. That's totally fine. If you have someone that you're like, come along to this thing, it's free, it was fun, I learned some stuff, Logan triggered me a little bit, but overall I got some good stuff. Great, tell some friends about it as well. Cool. What I would love everyone to do now is to pop into the chat a takeaway. What is one takeaway from today? Something that you've learned, something that you've discovered. It could even just be something that you're frustrated by or surprised by or annoyed by, or hey, here's an action I'm going to take. I would love everyone here, including those not on video, pop something in the chat. Even if you're on your phone, it's fine. You can grab your phone, type it out in there. Pop something in there. Those of you watching the recording, write it down. Write down what's the thing that you're reflecting on. So just popping in the chat. What is a takeaway from today? Just as we start to do our wrap up. And this will help you to condense what you've learned, but also help other people think about what we've learned as well. Amazing. Some good stuff popping into the chat already. 3 to 5 offerings is okay. You don't need only one. Yeah, that's a big one there, Lindsay. I do hear online, kind of on, once again, I'd say the internet, people say, no, you only one thing at a time. And I'm like, that does not work for creative people. Years ago, I actually tested that and it does not work, right? It does not work. People get bored and then they end up going in the wrong direction completely. Thanks for the help. Appreciate it. Awesome. I love that, Corinne. Amazing. Low ticket things to impact, 3 to 5 things. Yeah, as a multi, that's great. Absolutely, for sure. Realize that spending way too much time on creating wall art. I should keep painting murals. There is hope for yes, for sure. Charge more, less clients need. Charge more to need less clients is the goal. Absolutely, you can work with a smaller number of appreciative people. I know it's not working, right? So Christine, you realize that. Love the ideas to actually make money. Absolutely, I love that. Focus on what you can do. There's so many good things here. Melissa's sharing, my hunch of focusing on client work looks like a good track, and I can let go of feeling bad about ditching my Etsy shop. That wasn't skyrocketing, right? Yes, well done. I love that. Love the thinking there as well. Very, very cool. Just as we wrap up, those of you that haven't grabbed that link yet, that's Paul's link again in the chat. Would love to get people getting some calls with Paul over the next few days, ideally as soon as possible. He's got availability over the next 2 or 3 weeks, but the sooner the better, then you can really consolidate what you've learned here as well. We're going to wrap things up there. I want one word from everyone, how they feel about tomorrow. Are you excited? Are you pumped? Well, how do you feel about tomorrow's mindset one? You could just write excited, you could write pumped, you could write yes, let's do it. How's everyone feeling? Everyone needed. Emojis are allowed. I love it. Inspired, excited, yay, nice. Good things being shared in the chat there as well. I love it. Yes, good things. Hey, honestly, it's been such a good day. I know that time flies by. Really excited about seeing everyone tomorrow. Please come along live if you can. If you need to watch the recording, that's fine. But it's going to always be more interactive live as well. Amazing, everyone. Do take care and look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone. Ciao.